the podcast where callers share part-time problems and full-time fuck-ups. From major war stories in the workplace to minor break room blunders and everything in between.
Oh, and did we mention it's all completely anonymous?
Yep, so ignore those NDAs and air out your dirty business casual laundry.
This is Fail Disclosure.
All right, Clint, here we go. Show number one.
Show number one. What do you think what do you think our world will have in front of us?
I don't know, and I'm a little bit nervous because nobody's called in yet, so maybe nothing, maybe crickets.
Yeah, maybe this podcast is actually a fail.
Yeah, that would be a good. So episode 1, how we failed. Oh, wait, hold up. How does this thing work?
First caller. Let's do it.
There we go. Hello.
Hello, is this the Fail Disclosure podcast?
This is.
You've got us.
Congratulations on being our first caller ever. This is Paul Jarrett, and I have my co-host with me,
Clint Runge.
And we're just going to start this thing off by saying, what did you fuck up at work?
Well, this was back when I was a sandwich artist at Subway. That was back when we were still sandwich artists. Yes.
What are you now?
I don't want to say, but this was back when I was a sandwich artist. Before they were assembly line workers making sandwiches, I was an artist. And one day I was working the line, the Bane as it was called, and just getting ready to start the day. And I had a woman walk into the store.
Did you say the Bane? Did you say the Bane?
It's called a Bane. A Bane is.
Can you tell me about that real quick?
Yeah, it's what holds all the meats and vegetables. It's the cooling system at the front of the Subway.
Oh man, I'm already.
I think it's the stuff you see that's happening there, but we can't touch, right? There's the cover.
Okay.
Yep,
okay,
exactly.
So at the Bane, a woman comes in.
Exactly. Yes. So she comes in across the parking lot, walks across the parking lot in, doesn't drive in, no worries there. Comes up and starts ordering some sandwiches, and definitely something seems a little off, and I can't figure out what it is. But I'm like, 19 at this point, and it's like 10 a.m., which is early. And so she's ordering some sandwiches, and we get to the end and ready to check out, and I ring the total up, and it's like $9 or something like that. And obviously they weren't $5 footlongs, but $9. So,
$5 foot.
Yeah, I read the total out loud, and she goes, "Okay, here," and proceeds to hand me nothing, but with her hands in the shape of like what you would for holding a credit card. And I say,
imaginary money. I like this.
Yeah, and I go, do you have a card you can pay with? And she goes, oh, yeah. Sorry. Reaches into nothing and pulls out, again, nothing, and hands it my way.
What the fuck?
At this point, I just have no idea what to do. So I pretend to take
This is a game. Credit. Do you go along with it?
Yeah, I do. So I pretend to grab the imaginary credit card. Yeah, in my mind, I'm like, I'm about to use my minimum income wage to pay for these sandwiches because I don't know what else to do, and I just want out of this situation. And
I'd be freaked out.
I take the pretend credit card that's not there and pretend swipe it through the machine, and then I mean, what are you gonna do? I'm not about to.
No, you go with it.
I think you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. She pulls out like an imaginary weapon on you if you don't use it, right? Like, you go with it.
I think you did exactly what you should do. If it was in the Subway sandwich artist playbook, I'm sure you are following exact protocol.
Yeah, I think so too.
So what happens? Finish this out for us.
Yeah. So luckily, a woman comes sprinting across the parking lot and runs into the store and basically proceeds in a rush to tell me that she has dementia, which is very sad. And she has dementia, and she hurries her out of the store. Doesn't take the sandwiches, and I'm like, she already paid for them imaginarily, so you might as well take them. Then so I'm just standing there with these like made sandwiches. Nothing obviously paid for. And my manager comes up and goes, "Whose are these?" And I'm like, how do I even explain this? I'm pretty sure that I tried to explain it, and she laughed, and I just ended up eating the sandwiches. So it was all around a good thing.
That's great.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's kind of a fail because
I love it.
I didn't get the imaginary payment through the system, unfortunately.
It's perfect. It's perfect. The most important question is, do you remember what kind of sandwiches she got?
Oh man, I think one was a roast beef and one was a ham. Trust me, I got a memory for sandwiches.
I mean, I just appreciate she ordered multiple sandwiches too. This wasn't a one time. She had to know she had to get this in for two.
I would have been like, "Would you like another?" and just pretend make her a sandwich.
Now I have a question. Now, in all honesty, do you think that if someone did this today, if we walked in and this occurred, what would be the success rate of being able to buy a sandwich or literally anything
I think I might
with
try
imaginary
this.
money? What would be the success rate?
Well, Clint, I think about that every day of my life, and I have yet to be brave enough to try it. So I think we should go to Borsheim's, try this out.
Yes.
All you got to do is find somebody who's 19 and uncomfortable in the situation to where they just want out of the situation, I think.
Exactly. Man, you have to have plenty of fast. You mentioned that you have another one, or there has to be some dirt on Subway that you can share. Like you've had to have like drop something on the ground. This is like the question that everybody always wants to know, right? I did not work in fast food. I worked in, I don't know, just like restaurants as a bar and a waiter and all that stuff. But maybe you can ask the urban legend question of, what's the worst thing that you've seen happen there?
So I'll tell you, I feel like people were pretty good at my Subway. And they were definitely like good people. And no, they really were. But the one thing that always creeped me out that I like realized for myself was if you need something like on the sandwich that's not out there and they go to the back and then come back out, they don't switch the gloves. So they'll have the same gloves on. So what they do to those gloves while they go into the back, I don't know.
Yes.
Right? So
open for interpretation.
Yeah. We call that
open
a
to
switch.
Interpretation. Yeah.
One more question for you.
Yeah, please.
I just thinking about this. Is there a network or fraternity of sandwich artists on the dark web that we would not have access to, but you would? That where these stories are
Illuminati
shared?
of sandwiches.
Yeah.
The schools, if you will.
I honestly don't. I wish I had stayed better connected with my fellow sandwich artists.
You're losing your artistry skills, my friend.
No, trust me. Don't worry. I'm not. I practice at home anytime I need to. But I'll tell you one other fun one was the weirdest sandwich I ever made was somebody came in and ordered like a double meat sandwich, and it was half meatball sub, half chicken teriyaki, and that's fucking disgusting.
That's disgusting. That is.
Oh.
That
so there's real evil in the world out there.
Unless they were stoned, that is disgusting.
Has anyone ever asked you to make something that you legit did not know how to make? Like I'm thinking like some bartender, like you go and ask for like the wrong drink that they're like, I've never heard of this, man. Has anyone ever asked you to make a sandwich that you have never heard of?
Yeah, they asked me to make an all-meat pizza. This was back also when we were pizza artists too, because there's pizzas at Subway. And I'm like, dude, this is a Subway. What do you mean all-meat pizza? And it ended up being taking the fucking like frozen chicken and meatballs and putting it on the pizza and baking it.
I love it. Oh, I mean,
yeah, people are gross.
How has this helped you kind of, being working in the fast food industry and without, disclosing what you do now, but has this been useful in any manner, your experience at Subway and in fast food?
It's just like a awkward interaction that you can call back on. So anytime that I'm in a situation where I'm like, this is weird. And I'm like, it ain't that weird. I've processed an imaginary payment.
I've seen weird.
Yeah, I'm good. I've seen imaginary money, man. Yeah.
I've seen all meat pizza as a pizza artist. I definitely know that from my experience and when we're interviewing at our company. I tend to actually gravitate towards people that have fast food experience.
Yeah, or any kind of like waiter, waitress, serving, anything in the service industry, actually, people will tell you learn a lot from.
Yeah, if you've had to deal with that and had those rough jobs, like I want to talk to you. We've had plenty of people with the MBAs and all those degrees. And then we get folks that maybe haven't even completed college. And then I see, oh my God, they've had to actually work or they've dealt with this situation. And those people are much, much more interesting to me to interview because they know how to deal.
Yeah, the nice part about fast food is, when people are the worst, is you're only there for a short amount of time versus having to wait on them for an hour, which is nice. But the downside is that people treat Subway bathrooms like the freaking Middle Ages, man. I don't know. People forget how to go to the bathroom when they're in a fast food bathroom.
Have you walked into one of the bathrooms that you needed to clean and just opened the door and said nope and closed it and said I'll do it again in an hour?
No, I just left. Yeah, no, I was done. Yep. I was not. No, yeah, I didn't even leave it for the next shift. We were closing. We just closed. I wasn't about to do it.
Yeah, just that's someone else's problem. That's morning shift problem.
Yeah, I worked as a bouncer.
I think I was a busboy once. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I worked as a bouncer, and we had a very bad toilet clogging, and my boss was telling. I mean, it was like coming out onto the dance floor, like turd party. It was crazy. And I looked at it and I go, no, I'm a bouncer. And he goes, well, then go change my flat tire. And I went, okay.
I'll do that. I would
so
rather
I
do
changed
that.
the flat tire.
Yeah.
I changed my boss's flat tire. Yeah. Well, sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was a busboy once, and a toilet overflowed, and it was a big thing. And I was like, oh, man, who's going to clean that? And the manager looked at me and goes, you're the busboy. And I think that was the day I was like, oh, I quit.
You said, nope, I'm going to be a sandwich artist. I'll see you later.
I said I'm going to follow my dream and be an artist.
And then a pizza artist.
Hey, man, we really appreciate you calling into the show and giving us your fail disclosure.
Fantastic. Appreciate it. Congratulations. Call number 1.
Yes.
Good luck to you.
Yes, have a good one.
All right, bye.
Well, I think Paige said somebody was going to call
back.
Yeah,
they're going to call back.
This is Fail Disclosure with Paul and Clint. What's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
Concept.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, we're excited. Got some great callers rolling. What's your fail?
There's so many. I'm an epic lifelong failure.
Love it.
As we all are.
I'm not a failure. I'm a failure. I don't think if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough.
I love where this is going.
I've got to see a lot of things. I work with small businesses. I am a small business myself. I'd say my greatest failure in my career, I opened my business in 2008, and I spent the first half of my business trying to be like my competitors.
Interesting.
Because I'm in an industry where you're supposed to be serious and drab and dry and gray and those type of things. And I failed a long time, and my business went nowhere for a long time. And when I decided to go ahead and be authentic, and say F it and be who I am, our world changed. And so I have a lot of examples of failures, but I think my greatest was not being true to myself, and it cost me a lot of money for a lot of years.
Oh, this is such great insight. Tell me, I'm curious, when you were trying to be like others, what were you copying? Was it mannerism, voice, the style of services? Like, what was where were you trying to be like?
Mustache painted on?
Yeah, it was everything. It was the look. I come from a more stuffy man's world industry. I also tried to structure my services and the way that I sold myself like my competitors. And across the board, from me trying to look like and fit into that world to how we sold and tried to structure our services and everything in between. And honestly, what we do now doesn't really align with anyone in my industry. And what's happened is now the people that used to be my competitors see me as a lot of value.
Right.
And so authenticity is one of my core values. And every time I'm lost and I don't know what to do, that's what I go back to. I'm inappropriate, I'm raw, and I'm not for everyone. And I make
you said F before, so I don't think you're that fucking inappropriate.
But yeah, once you embrace who you truly are and your authenticity, for me that opened my door to true success. Now there's been a lot of failures along the way, and I'm okay with those too, but I think that was my greatest example of it, and it cost me for a lot of years. So be who
What was the moment? What was the moment when you realized that, being me works? What was that moment like? Could you describe that?
Yeah. I don't know if I can cuss on this show, but
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, you can.
I had I was working in corporate world. I kind of went out. I did a speech in front of some people and threw out a couple F-bombs and really said, fuck it, this is the way this is the way I see it. And the response that we got from it, the first time I was really real and authentic in an environment where I wasn't trying to get sales. I was just being me.
Right.
So good.
It's what I felt from the world at that moment. And also then my passion was fueled because I was trying to do my trade in the way that everybody else did.
Yep.
And we just aren't that.
It's fascinating how that almost creates like this, it's almost like I don't know, I don't want to get too hokey, but almost like a vibe or aura. And Clint, I credit you with, I think I picked up on this when I was in college and you were at Arch Rival, which you still are, seeing how when you are your true authentic self, that tends to repel people that are unlike you, and it tends to like have a gravitational pull. And we work with a lot of big clients, and everybody's always like shocked, like, how'd you get Disney? How'd you get that? And they're also always really concerned with my social media posts, like, are you repelling people? And the truth of it is like, I don't know. It feels right, and I know if I'd wear a suit, I know if I'd do those things, it might feel correct to everybody around me, but the numbers don't lie. And those things tend to, I love what you're saying is like, it's that gravitational pull that brings people in. I wish I knew what that was, because I always feel like that's the confidence and that's what people are buying. I think for me, I had to just like absolutely like hit rock bottom. It's like, I give up. Okay, what am I going to do? I'm just going to be me. Well, let's see if that works. Right.
Yeah. Age, I think you hit the nail on the head, because now that I'm a number of years now into the model and what we do now, but it's stifling, and it's an icky feeling to work with people that don't accept my inappropriateness and really who we represent. And so that's the thing is by being authentic, I think you attract the people that are going to stay with you long term, because there's an alignment there. And when you're trying to force who you're not, those aren't long-term relationships. And for me, I think you get to a certain age where you just don't care. So I think part of the age for me.
You ran out of fucks to give.
Well, I think you're hitting on a key point, though, is that being true to yourself also has longevity for you. When you stop trying to pretend, I mean, that's a lot of energy to not be you. Yep. That has a short window. The lifespan of that is short. If you are who you are, that's going to last forever. It has the potential to. So, and I'm hearing from our caller that that's something they've tuned into.
Yep. And in time, it's proven to seep into my culture and my team. And there's not any aspect of my business that I'm not absolutely in love with. And I think so much of it comes back to being authentic. So. All right.
So I'm gonna pry a little bit. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So you've been at this you've been kind of an entrepreneur for how long?
I opened my business in 2008. I relaunched the model that I operate under today in late 2015, early 16.
So you've been at it for a while.
Yes.
Okay. So and I know Clint knows, there are things that happen that you just can't share, right? You can't share beyond a lawyer or HR or whatever. Are you willing to share one of those things with us right now?
Sure. Something that I would only tell one of those people.
Yes, something deep, something dark, but it probably happens in legit every single industry and every organization.
And remember, we can always come back and edit this after the show. We can have a quick chat with you if you kind of went too far.
From a failure standpoint?
It's the one that you're trying to decide if you're not supposed to say or not right now.
Well, she might be trying to figure out, like, it could be an employee issue. Yeah. It could be a business issue, I suppose. It could be a work environment issue. Mm-hmm. I'm actually curious too. You mentioned you're a woman in a man's industry, or what was traditionally viewed that way. I have to imagine there's some situations that have occurred that you've come up against that are pretty pressing and pretty challenging.
Absolutely. I think it's a man's world, so let's be real about that for a minute.
There you go.
Yeah, I have some really, I suppose I could come up with some shocking stories. Again, I don't know how inappropriate you can get on here, but
as the worst one that you don't want to share.
Yeah, see, you can give us and tell us, and then we'll tell you later if that's a line we can't cross.
If we can't do that.
I don't think you're gonna find something that we won't, throw out there. So
much goes on the failure line, but trying to find my place in that world. I got to a point one time that your voice isn't heard as a woman, so I brought myself a big black dildo, and I slapped the son of a bitch on the desk and said, "Now can I be heard?"
And were you heard?
I was heard in a way that
fuck yeah.
So
that's fucking great.
That's what you're looking for.
That is exactly what I was looking for. I thought to myself, there's nothing anybody can say to shock me. And you said a big black, and I kind of thought dildo is usually what comes after that, right? So first of all, how big, right? How many inches? That's what everybody wants to know. Big. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go with like 2 inches. 12,
that is amazing.
24. And what was the setting? Was this at your company, somebody else's?
No, this was at somebody else's boardroom style setting.
Oh my God, that is bad.
I would love to break down the mindset where you had to go purchase this. That you're like, here's what I'm going to do. Yeah. I have a plan.
I mean, that's what it was. The word premeditated.
It was impulsive. You brought it straight from home or out of the desk drawer?
I didn't have to buy anything. That's hilarious. I was just thinking. Well, really, I was like, wait,
it's hard to find your voice.
Well, I
okay. Wait, hold on. We opened up a little bit here. What are what's the next one? Can you top the big black dildo?
Oh, I don't. In terms of failures, I mean.
Yeah, shocking, surprising.
Yeah. I've often wanted to write a book, How to Kill a Business in 30 Days or Less, because I've really seen everything. I think my greatest one that I've seen, a group of I built a business is about to sell for about $17 million, and the owners started suing each other. We lost all contracts, and it was really one of the first cases where the hatred of another person outweighed that kind of money. So in terms of small business failures, that's probably one of the largest, craziest things I've been up against, is that two people could hate themselves.
The amount of times that the amount of times that I've seen that happen is absolutely mind blowing.
Really.
It's, I feel like being a startup and raising capital, I'm kind of, I hang out with entrepreneurs that are working with venture capital. I mean, it's a fast game that, we live in. And I can probably think of 3 off the top of my head. And it's, even if they would have sold the company, I don't even think the money would have covered like the therapy bills. So isn't that fascinating how weird people get with money? That's been my lesson, is people get funny with money and like, don't fall into that trap. So what was some of the, why did they hate each other so much?
I don't know. Difference of opinion led to a lot of things, but the humorous thing is they were both after money, and if you can put your emotions aside, they could have made so much more money even beyond that. And that's the thing. In an effort to be greedy, you lost everything.
Oh my God.
But it goes to emotional intelligence in business, And there's a way to handle things and a way not to. And if you're in business, aren't we trying to make money? So.
Yes, and I think slapping a big black dildo with them in the face would have been the appropriate way to handle those two knuckleheads.
No, that wasn't
guys are dumb.
But I did play the uterus card once there.
What does that mean?
How do you play a uterus card? I don't have one, so I'm not sure how to play that card.
Well, the owner, whenever things would get heated and I would disagree, he would make the comment that, well, if you're bleeding, maybe we should talk when you're less emotional.
Holy fuck.
And so I was very open that I don't bleed. I had a hysterectomy, so you can't play the uterus card in the meeting.
I have to admit that, like, I feel like I was kind of blind to that or just not as observant. But starting the company with my wife, I remember about 1.5 years in or 2 years in where she said, like, we're not taking money from that person. And I was like, why? And she goes, the entire meeting, that person never made eye contact with me. And you would literally say, Stephanie, my wife, she can answer that question. And the person would watch me as her lips would move. And that was the day that I became I would say I became aware, and I try to do my best. But now that I've seen it firsthand, it really is mind blowing.
I still see that too in new business. When I'm out in new business and I'll be with, I have a woman that normally travel that we go and do new business with, and the same thing will occur. They'll try talking, answering questions to me when any of us in the room are perfectly capable of doing it.
Yep. Or the classic, they'll look at my wife, who's the co-founder, and they'll just be like, so can you set up a meeting, or are you his assistant? I'm like, oh, well, deal over. That's over. It's over. You done screwed yourself.
I was doing a construction build out once, and I hired a contractor to come by and look for me. And about halfway through walking through the building, my maintenance guy at the time came up and started following with us. And he was talking to me, but every time he asked about square footage, he looked at him. Because I couldn't possibly know what square footage is, right? So I just pulled the first worker aside and said, "Look what this guy's doing." I called him out. And,
have you found this though? Yeah. Have you found this though? In, I would say definitely within the last year, and it's probably tied with some of the Me Too movement. But have you seen? And maybe I'll say this: I've seen generally older men attempting to do better in their communication style with females and or
they're
minorities,
becoming woke to it themselves.
But it ends up just backfiring, and they just sit there and struggle. They're like, "Hey, sweetheart, Mrs. Sweetheart," and I can tell that it's painful for people in a group setting, and I just sit there like I'm eating popcorn, watching yes, this is so good. You're paying for the last 30 years. Have you seen that at all, or is that just me?
Now that I work for myself, I don't feel it or see it because I don't allow it. And so it's not even an
You can
option
feel that on this call, which I appreciate. That's awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Your opinion of me, it doesn't change anything, and I'm not at anybody's mercy anymore. So it's a much different view now that I'm not working for someone because I don't need you. So people may attempt it, but I say come with your A game because I'll wipe the floor with you. So.
Yeah, you're gangster. I love it. You are gangster as fuck.
Make sure you're, But
I'll tell you what, we really appreciate your.
I'm glad I got through because
Yes, we really appreciate your call in and.
All right, bye.
Bye.
That was fucking great.
Okay, well, that's been a great first show. Paul, anything else we need to put out there?
Man, I think it's just really important that people know that everything is anonymous. It's going to stay that way. We don't see phone lines. We don't know voices. We don't want to know. Man, that was a lot of fun. I'm looking for, I did not think that those calls about those topics were going to happen. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future.
I think it's only going to get deeper, my friend. All right. Good job on the first show.
Appreciate you, Clint. You too. Thanks for listening to Failed Disclosure, and thanks for everybody who called in and all of our sponsors. And a huge thank you to Grindstone Media for putting this together. It would not be possible without them. Check them out, Grindstone Media, and get ready to call in or listen to some more fails.